There are moments in life when time seems to pause, when you walk into a place you've never been and feel inexplicably at home, or when a stranger's eyes seem to echo something ancient and known. These are not accidents of perception, nor are they mere quirks of memory. They are fragments, shimmering like dew on the edge of morning, of something far older than this single life. They are echoes of a hidden archive, one not written in ink but in vibration, emotion, and experience. This is the realm of the Akashic Records. Much has been spoken in hushed tones about these records, and even more has been misunderstood. For those walking the spiritual path, the Akashic Records have often been portrayed as mystical scrolls, guarded by ethereal beings, accessible only to an initiated few. But that image, though beautiful, is only a shadow of a deeper, more expansive truth. What if the Akashic Records are not something external to us, but rather the very fabric of our being? What if they are not merely a repository of our soul's past, but the living memory of consciousness itself? This hidden story begins not in a monastery or a sacred text, but in the quiet moments of your own awareness. It begins when a sensation passes through you with no known cause, when a dream feels more like a memory, when intuition whispers things you couldn't possibly know. These subtle stirrings are not tricks of the mind. They are the language of the records, speaking not in words but in the resonance of remembrance. Every choice you've made, every emotion you've felt, every lesson your soul has gathered, these are threads woven into this vast field. Spiritual traditions across the world have touched the edges of this truth. The Hebrews called it the Book of Life. The ancient Egyptians spoke of the Hall of Records. The Islamic mystics referenced the preserved tablet. In the East, it was the Akasha, the elemental ether, the silent witness to all things. Though the names vary, the essence is strikingly consistent. There exists a universal archive, accessible not by authority, but by attunement. But this story is not just about remembering past lives or uncovering lost knowledge. It's about reclaiming agency. The Akashic Records are not passive books gathering dust in some celestial library. They are dynamic, responsive, and alive. They shift and reflect the unfolding of your consciousness in real time. To understand them is not merely to look backward, but to step into the present with profound clarity and responsibility. In this video, we will journey into the forgotten dimensions of the Akashic Records. We'll explore how they function, what they truly are beneath the myths, and how you can begin to experience their presence not as something distant and mystical, but as something deeply personal and intimately woven into your spiritual path. Through history, symbol, and lived experience, we will unveil what every spiritual seeker must eventually come to understand: that the Akashic Records are not a mystery to be solved, but a mirror in which the soul learns to recognize itself. To truly grasp the essence of the Akashic Records, one must step beyond the literal and into the vibrational. They are not books bound by spines or ink, nor are they digital clouds of information stored in some otherworldly database. The records are a field, an omnipresent lattice of consciousness where time folds inward, and the past, present, and future become harmonics of the same eternal note. This field does not sit above us in some celestial vault. It surrounds us, passes through us, and listens as we move, speak, feel, and think. We are, each of us, both readers and authors of this field. The word Akasha itself stems from Sanskrit, referring to the ether or the fifth element, the unseen medium through which light and sound travel. In the Vedic tradition, Akasha was not an abstract idea, but the foundation of form, memory, and vibration. It is within this vibrational essence that all experience is imprinted, not as events on a timeline, but as energetic signatures stored in a kind of cosmic memory. The Akashic Records, then, are not static. They breathe with the rhythms of consciousness and reflect the evolution of the soul as it traverses lifetime after lifetime. Central to this concept is the idea that memory itself is not stored in the brain, but in the field. Our physical minds are translators, not containers. The records are where the deeper memory of the soul resides. The choices we've made across incarnations, the lessons learned, the love given and withheld, the traumas unresolved, the talents once mastered and now dormant. In the Akashic field, none of it is lost. It waits, like seeds beneath winter frost, for the right warmth of intention and awareness to awaken it again. There is a reason spiritual seekers often feel drawn to certain people, practices, or places, without understanding why. The Akashic field pulses with familiarity when it encounters a resonance from the soul's past. That feeling of déjà vu is not just a neurological misfire, it is a remembering. And in that remembering, there is guidance, not prescriptive rules, but energetic maps pointing us toward what we are here to resolve, reclaim, or fulfill. The records also challenge linearity. They dissolve the notion that time moves only in one direction. In the Akashic perspective, future potentials exist as probabilities shaped by present consciousness and past momentum. When one accesses the records, they are not simply looking at what has been, they are communing with what could be, depending on how awareness is applied now. This makes every moment not just meaningful, but sacred. Another core concept is that access to the records does not require initiation or hierarchy. The soul is not required to ask permission to know itself. Rather, it is the ego that must step aside. Access comes through alignment, not entitlement. Practices like meditation, breathwork, dreaming, and even spontaneous inspiration through art or nature can serve as portals. But the key is always the same: stillness, sincerity, and surrender. Finally, the Akashic records are not just personal, they are collective. They hold not only your soul's journey, but the collective memory of humanity, of civilizations long gone, of archetypes and mythologies that continue to echo within the human psyche. When one taps into the records, they are not just discovering their own past, they are entering a sacred space of shared remembrance. The Akashic records remind us that we are not isolated beings navigating a random world. We are threads in a conscious tapestry, weaving stories that matter across dimensions. And in learning to read those threads, we begin to understand not just where we've been, but who we are becoming. Imagine a vast ocean at dawn, its surface calm, but beneath, currents of unfathomable depth swirl with stories from lifetimes ago. This ocean is not water, but memory, and every soul is like a ship upon it, sailing routes they have traveled before, guided by unseen winds, drawn to certain shores without knowing why. This is the symbolic essence of the Akashic records, not merely a ledger of events, but a living mythology unfolding through you, again and again. In many traditions, this idea has taken on symbolic form. The ancient Egyptians spoke of the hall of Mut, where a soul's heart would be weighed against a feather to determine its next passage. This was not judgment in the moral sense, but resonance. Was the soul light with truth or heavy with distortion? In the language of the Akashic, this feather is not only a measure but a metaphor for balance, alignment, and vibrational memory. The records are the space where that resonance is held. There is also the archetype of the cosmic librarian, a being who does not speak but who watches, whose eyes carry the weight of 10,000 timelines. Some mystics describe encountering such presences in visions, dreams, or altered states, feeling as if they are being read even as they attempt to read. Whether this guardian is real or symbolic, it points to a truth. The act of accessing the records is not only about discovery but also surrender. To see clearly, one must be willing to be seen. Consider the metaphor of the spiral, a shape found in galaxies, seashells, and the unfurling of ferns. The spiral does not loop back to the same point. It circles inward or outward in progressive layers. So too does the soul return to the same lessons, the same themes, but from new vantage points. The records reveal these spirals. You may find that patterns of abandonment, creativity, betrayal, or love have been written in your field across many lifetimes. These are not punishments or karmic debts to be paid. They are narratives to be rewritten with deeper wisdom. And what of the dream? In many spiritual traditions, dreams are doorways to the Akashic field. Within them, the subconscious dissolves its defenses, allowing the soul to surface with messages encoded in symbol, story, and surreal imagery. A recurring staircase, a forgotten city, a conversation with someone long departed. These are not always fantasies. Sometimes they are visitations. Sometimes they are retrievals. Even language itself can be symbolic of the records. Consider how words have frequencies, how mantras echo in the body, how silence sometimes reveals more than speech. The Akashic realm does not operate through linear grammar, but through impression and feeling, through tone and vibration. It is a language of soul rather than tongue, and it speaks in symbols because symbols bypass logic and reach directly into truth. To journey into the records, then, is to walk a labyrinth, not to be lost, but to spiral into the sacred center of the self. Each turn offers a mirror, and each mirror asks a question. Are you ready to remember not just what you were, but what you truly are beneath the stories? The Akashic Records are not a concept to be admired from a distance. They are a living field, ever present, waiting to be felt, engaged, and integrated into the way we move through the world. While the language of vibration and soul memory might sound intangible, the effects of tapping into this deeper awareness ripple into the most grounded aspects of daily life: our decisions, our relationships, our fears, and our sense of meaning. To begin integrating the Akashic field into your life, the first shift is perceptual. You must stop thinking of life as random and begin to see patterns as purposeful. When the same kind of person keeps entering your life, when challenges recur in different forms, or when a dream repeats with quiet urgency, these are not coincidences. They are the echoes of unresolved narratives in your record, surfacing again for remembrance and realignment. Bringing attention to these repetitions is the first act of reclaiming authorship over your soul's story. In practical terms, this means developing the discipline of inner listening. This does not require a temple or an initiation, only presence. Sit in stillness. Feel what arises in your body when you ask a question of yourself. Watch the emotions that appear when you speak certain names or revisit specific memories. The records communicate not through a booming voice, but through subtle resonance. Your body becomes the needle on the record, translating vibrations into knowing. Meditation, of course, is a powerful key, but not meditation as escape. Rather, meditation as return. A return to the center of your awareness, where the field is most accessible. Some use guided journeys to access the records, others enter spontaneously through breathwork, dance, or even intense moments of grief or love. What matters is sincerity and readiness. The field opens not to curiosity alone, but to humility and purpose. It responds when you're not just seeking knowledge, but wisdom, when your question is not what happened, but what must I learn? Dreams also become a laboratory of integration. When you begin to set the intention before sleep to access insight from the Akashic field, the subconscious becomes a messenger. Symbols in dreams may appear more vivid, messages more coherent. Keep a journal. Look for emotional tones rather than just events. A flooded room may speak of emotional overwhelm tied to a past life. A flight over cities may indicate a shift in perspective over your life's direction. Over time, you'll recognize the unique language the field speaks to. Your relationships too take on new meaning. That person you can't seem to forget, the one who triggered your deepest wounds or inspired your greatest growth, may not be a new figure at all. Soul contracts are often hidden behind the faces of lovers, family members, rivals, and teachers. When you begin to see people not just as players in this life, but as companions from a longer journey, the impulse to blame or cling softens into understanding. Forgiveness, then, is not weakness. It is the wisdom of seeing the greater arc. Even your career, your health, your sense of identity may shift when viewed through the lens of the records. Talents you never developed may be dormant gifts from past experiences. Chronic conditions may carry emotional imprints that long for acknowledgement. And the questions you carry about purpose, timing, direction, may find clearer answers when you approach them not as puzzles, but as memories waiting to resurface. The more you live with the awareness that your life is a continuation, not a beginning, the more intentional you become. The Akashic Records don't just offer insight, they offer empowerment, because in remembering, you become the one who chooses, no longer pulled by unconscious momentum, but walking, fully awake, toward the evolution your soul came here to fulfill. To walk through the Akashic Records is to move through a mirror hall of the soul, each reflection revealing a different lifetime, a different choice, a different echo of who you have been and who you are becoming. But unlike a mirror that reflects only the surface, the records reflect essence. They show you not just your wounds, but your wisdom, not just your past, but your potential. And as you begin to see, truly see, the patterns within yourself, the world around you begins to shift. What was once confusion becomes clarity. What once felt like random suffering begins to reveal its shape, its lesson, its purpose. You start to recognize that every encounter, every difficulty, every seemingly inexplicable longing has roots deeper than memory, roots that stretch through lifetimes, braided with intention, growth, and sacred design. This realization alone changes everything. It demands that you step out of the role of victim or passive observer and into the role of conscious participant in your soul's unfolding. But this is not a burden. It is a liberation. When you accept that you are not just the reader of the records, but their living continuation, your relationship with time, pain, and even death begins to transform. You see that healing is not about erasing the past, but reweaving it. You realize that your greatest blocks may also be the gateways to your most profound gifts. And above all, you come to understand that remembering is not about nostalgia. It is about sovereignty. We are living in an age of remembrance. More and more, individuals are awakening to the subtle call of their soul history. They are dreaming, dreams that feel like prophecies, meeting souls they've known before, and sensing that their purpose is far more intricate than any societal script could ever describe. This is not coincidence. It is the resonance of the Akashic field intensifying, inviting humanity into a new level of awareness, not through dogma or doctrine, but through direct experience. You too are part of this great awakening. The very fact that these words reach you now is a sign. Something in you already remembers, something in you already knows. And perhaps all that's left is permission. Permission to trust that inner voice. Permission to explore the mystery that has followed you across lifetimes. Permission to stop seeking outside what has always lived within. The Akashic Records are not the end of the journey. They are the gateway. And what they reveal is not a fixed destiny, but a sacred dance between memory and choice, between soul and time, between who you've been and who you are ready to become. So take this awareness and let it transform how you listen to your intuition. Let it soften how you judge others. Let it empower how you face your wounds. And above all, let it remind you that your story is not written in stone. It is written in light. And it continues. Every time you choose presence over fear, alignment over reaction, truth over illusion, let this be your invitation, not just to believe in the records, but to feel them, to live them, and to become the author of the soul you came here to remember. If this journey has awakened something within you, then now is the moment to step deeper, explore, reflect, reclaim. And if you wish to continue walking paths of ancient wisdom and inner revelation, subscribe to this channel and join us on future journeys into the unseen. The records are open, and they are waiting for you.